Hi everyone, I hope you're doing really well. A lot has changed in our backyard since we've brought you back here last. We had sod laid this past week. We've spread mulch in the new flower bed. We've laid drip all underneath that mulch, and I will pop a picture up on the screen of the grid of what that looks like later on in the video. And we've got a lot of plants that we have brought in that I'm going to be planting some of them today. It's the end of the season, we're in late September, and all of the nurseries in my area are starting to put their plants on clearance. So I'm grabbing some things in anticipation for what I want to see next year. And some of the plants you'll see are a little bit shabby right now because it's the end of the season, but I know that they will look good next year. But if you want to come with me, I'll kind of take you on a little look of what's happened in our terrace on the rock wall. When I planted this, it was in the heat of the summer. Everything was very scorched, and now most of the things have rooted in and have established themselves and have recovered and are looking really lush and happy right now. For me, the star of the show is the Verbena bonariensis, which is an annual, but it is a really good self-seeder if it likes its location. But I love this airy purple lollipop. It's just whimsical, magical effect. That's the elements of gardening that I think I love the most, is all of this airiness. Same goes for the Gara. That has filled in so nicely. Things that we don't see right now in bloom, but we'll see next year, is that beautiful Nepeta that I've talked about in previous videos. We have dotted around these white South African foxgloves, which I started from seed. Wasn't expecting a lot out of them because I waited until July to plant them out, and they were just languishing in their trays. And they have come up, and they have even bloomed their first year. So I hope they'll be even better next year. I have this lovely little drift of the Cat's Meow Nepeta. We will see the blooms next year from the red campion. We have a beautiful geranium phaeum that will be tall, and the dark, beautiful blooms next year. So I'm very, very happy with how everything has turned out. The roses are doing well that have been planted here. I have been more diligent the last couple of weeks about spraying to keep the deer away, because the deer in the very beginning of September kind of went through my whole garden and did a lot of damage. And I've discovered that my best line of defense right now is spraying with liquid fence every 2 to 3 days. And we just had a good rain last night, so even though I sprayed 2 days ago, I'll probably be spraying again, especially the roses this evening, to kind of keep them growing. Otherwise, you know, the deer take away so much of their growth, which takes away their blooms, and it's just a bummer because I have so many of them now and I want to enjoy their blooms. Over here on this slope, this is the only area that I'm not exactly sure yet. I'm going to be planting the whole slope. I know I'm going to be putting bulbs down there. This is an area that we couldn't really continue the rock terrace because we would sacrifice this beautiful cedar tree. And it is one of only a couple trees in our actual landscape directly surrounding the house that was native that we have, and I didn't want to risk losing this beautiful tree. So the goal now is to make this kind of seamlessly blend into the planting. So I'm going to be hand digging little of terrace levels when I plant each plant to kind of help with runoff and to give them a little shelf to thrive in. I do want to plant some woodland bulbs under this tree this fall, which hopefully I'll be able to share that with you guys in a video. And I've laid these out. These are sprinter boxwoods from Proven Winners, And I originally planted, and you'll remember maybe if you've seen the previous video, some Hidcote pink lavender, and only 2 of them have survived. Now, we had the crazy heat of the summer, but this side didn't have any irrigation. And basically where we live, if it's not irrigated, there's a good chance that your plant's not going to survive. So I think what I want here is some evergreen structure. And I want to add, that's something I don't have admittedly a lot of in my garden, and I want to work on really building up my winter interest. And boxwoods are one of the things that one of the evergreens that I particularly love the most. And they're very deer resistant. So they work for me in both of those ways. So I will be planting those up today. And then this new flower bed, you're gonna kind of see, so I'll pop up the video or the photo on the screen of what the grid of drip looks like underneath this mulch. But basically I tapped into our main drip line that runs along our hedge of junipers at the back here, and brought a black poly line all the way around that has no emitters in it, so that I'm not wasting water, because this area, the vision is to someday have some kind of outdoor dining area, some kind of covered portico, maybe with a pizza oven or something for our family to enjoy this terrace. So I don't have any immediate plans of planting here right now. I kind of want to leave my options open. We have to wait a year to build that portico, because we brought in 150 tons of fill to get this terrace level, and we were advised that we really need to give this new ground a year to settle, and then we can go ahead and build on it. But we need to give it that time to solidify a little bit. But over here, I think my vision for this area, and I could change my mind, but I was really inspired by Monty Don's garden on the mound that he is currently planting, and his color palette is these creamy yellows, pale blues, and whites. And so again, I brought in mostly clearance plants in here, and this is what I planted so far. In the back, I've planted a Venus dogwood, which gets these beautiful large white saucer flowers. Such a beautiful dogwood. I have a snowflake, or a summer snowflake viburnum, which kind of has that branching aspect of it, which I really like. Stays a little bit on the smaller side for a viburnum. This is a little, right now, David Austin rose called Jayne Austin. And I will put a link down below to the site that I found her on. And then I picked up 2 clearance Bobo hydrangeas. Bobos are a more compact hydrangea. I think they only get about 3 feet tall and wide, but they look like they're past their prime right now because they were clearance plants, but hydrangeas are so hardy, and I know that they are going to look beautiful next year. And I just love their delicate small florets, and to me, when it's in its prime, it's one of the most beautiful hydrangeas. In the front, I have Moonbeam Coreopsis, which is giving me that pale yellow, airy quality. I have a bunch of little rhizomes I planted here. I'm going to try to keep the rhizome in the sun a little bit as they root in, so that they can flower next year. But they might not flower until their second year. But I have Silverado, which is a beautiful pale blue. And then I have, I have to remind myself of the name of this one, Trade Secret, which is a yellow, really unique variety. This is just a traditional snowball bush. So I'm getting more of that, a large white shrub. I love snowball bush, and just gonna give us some beautiful spring blooms, as well as the dogwood in the back and the viburnum. The hydrangeas will be the late summer, autumn color. The same with the coreopsis. The rose should bloom all season long. And then I have the Fama white scabious or scabiosa. that pincushion flower, and these are large white. Again, these were like clearance end of season plants, but I'm going to cut them back a little bit more. I cut them back a little bit already, and those should look really nice next year. And in the front, I have lady's mantle. I love lady's mantle. It's a great cut flower. It will really mound up and get nice and full and shoot up the beautiful chartreuse blooms, the delicate blooms through the spring and summer months. So that's what I have in the ground right now. We'll see if I keep to this pale yellow, pale blue, white palette, but that's where I'm going right now. And I will show you some of the other plants I picked up over the weekend on clearance. And I've got 5 white swan echinacea. These get about 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide, and not much to see, but this is a beautiful delicate white echinacea. Thinking about late summer color, thinking about autumn interest. Their cones will last through the winter. And then this is an experiment, but I saw they only had one left at the nursery, and it's sarcococa, and it has these beautiful, almost like witch hazel, like white blooms. This is a zone 7. We are in 6B, and the nurseryman told me that these will grow here. We haven't had, I don't think we dipped below 0 degrees in the last couple of winters that I can remember. I think the lowest we got was 8 degrees one night. He says these will grow here, but they do not get as big as in more mild climates like along the coast of Washington. I was only able to find one more of the Honorine Joubert anemones, Japanese anemones. This will spread quite prolifically, but if I do locate a few more before the end of the season, I will pop those in as well. Again, I love Japanese anemones. Beautiful, airy, delicate blooms, gives you the late summer interest that we want. And then for more of that blue, although really leaning towards purple, borderline, is some hardy geranium, and this one is Orion. This was, I think these were $5 a pot, and sometimes I typically buy Roseanne, but I think in terms of bloom time and performance, they are supposed to be fairly similar, but I couldn't pass up the $5, so I have 3 of those. And then lastly, that I have, I think for this area, I have a bunch more plants for the front yard, but is this gorgeous lilac for more spring color and fragrance. And this is Madame Lemoine lilac, and it's a beautiful antique double white lilac. And I'm tooling with where I want to place it, if I want it in the very back, so someday to be behind the portico, or if I want it right here to kind of, as you're inside the portico, to kind of arch your view a little bit this way. But that's what we've got going on. I also picked up 3 more of these Spartan juniper plants. I have 1 here and 2 at the end to kind of add on to our hedge, our evergreen hedge, to give us some privacy from the neighbors down below us. Don't want to look at all their stuff anymore. And they were on clearance, so they're about a foot smaller than the ones we already have in, but I couldn't pass up the sale. And then at the very end, I will show you, we will plant a pink dogwood tree that I also picked up on clearance up for the upper terrace. So I think that's about it. Let's get planting. Okay, so we finished a busy morning of planting, and the last thing we planted this morning was this beautiful stellar pink dogwood tree, which will get 20 to 25 feet tall and 15 to 20 feet wide. It has beautiful pink saucer blooms, and dogwoods tend to do pretty well here in Spokane. In the springtime, you kind of see them everywhere, so it'll be a nice ornamental tree to have as a focal point up on this level. Just behind the camera there is also a forest pansy redbud. We spaced them apart just so that when at maturity their canopies will just about touch each other. But if you want to come down to the lower terrace, so we planted the 3 extra junipers I brought in, and 2 of them are here at the end. The plan for beyond the garden is to have a large arbor here at the entrance of this level with a gate, and then the junipers will kind of act as this enclosure to where you feel like you're entering a space, a garden room. And I will kind of maybe plant a little bit around it, have some flagstone down, and then probably a gravel pathway, but that's still to be decided. And then back over in the new flower bed and over at the stairs is where we did the rest of the planting today. We did plant 6 of these sprinter boxwoods. We couldn't get the 7th one in at the bottom step because we hit a main giant root of this cedar tree. So the only thing that can be planted here is something that's really shallow rooted. Some ground cover will probably be what I pop in there. But we did get that line of boxwoods in. I did hand shovel mini terraces, and this still needs its drip. I'm just going to tap into the drip on this side of the stairs, and the water runoff won't be as big of a deal when the drip is there because it will just be watering so efficiently at their roots. And then over here I popped in the 7th sprinter boxwood just so it could be nearby and have a little anchor point in this corner of the flower bed. Now, because the boxwoods are on a slope, I don't expect to ever have this be a tidy hedge. What I'm probably going to be doing here is just shaping them into little domes, little dumplings up the steps, and just have that little structure there, but not a solid hedge. And then planted and watered in everything over here. We have the Honorine Joubert Japanese anemone, and then we have the Orion hardy geranium. And I didn't want to do big clumps of anything. I kind of meandering them, dotting them around. What I like about, I planted these kind of close, but what I like about geranium is that its habit is very meandering. It kind of weaves itself through the plantings around it, and I like that intermingling effect that you get with geranium. So I dotted those 3 around here, and then the same kind of idea with the white swan echinacea. I did a group of 3 here and then dotted the other 2 over here. Those get about 36 inches tall. So they will be close to the same height as the bobo, but the bobo is something that I can always kind of prune and keep on the smaller side. And then in the back, I planted the sarcococa. I'm just going to kind of see, that's a trial for me to see how that one does. But it does better with a little bit of shade, is what I read, so it'll get a little bit more shade back there, especially when the dogwood is at maturity. And then the last thing that I planted down here today is the white lilac. So this will kind of be an anchor here at this front side of the someday portico, and I just imagine that growing up and being fragrant and beautiful in May. And this area is just coming together little by little, and I hope you really enjoyed seeing us do this planting. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.